Good morning, everybody. It is 9 o'clock on this Wednesday morning. I'm Jane Monreal. You are watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Here we are covering some breaking news right now. The terrible, just a heartbreaking situation in Steele Creek where there was a shooting and a child lost their life. Our Richard Devane is on scene. Richard, you got there a couple of hours ago. What can you tell us? Get us caught up with this situation.
Yeah, Jane, good morning to you. This all seems to be the result of someone who was trying to steal a car. Police still on the scene right here, as you can see, the mobile crime unit investigators, crime scene techs still on the scene, trying to figure out exactly who was responsible for this horrific crime. Basically what we do know is early this morning, a little before 6 o'clock, someone was in this parking lot here at these townhomes on Cigar Drive and basically trying cars. The house with the brick in front that you see straight ahead, that's the house where a black Dodge Charger sat. They were able to break into that car, and as they stole it and were driving away from this area, they fired shots. Those shots did not go into that townhome where the people who owned that car were. Instead, they went diagonally into this house Ruben's shooting at, and upstairs in that townhome is where a 4-year-old child lay sleeping, and that child was shot and killed. Police, of course, say this is a terrible tragedy. We actually had a chance to speak to some neighbors who, many of them heard some sort of commotion. Here's what one neighbor had to say they heard this morning. Take a listen.
As a mother, it's a hard pill to swallow. As a mother, you want to keep your children safe, and you want to shield them from the world. You want to protect their innocence. And then when something like this happens, but then when it happens 3 doors down from you, how do you explain it? You know, she's in school now and she's texting me, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And I told her I'm fine. She said, "Are you sure?" I said, "I'm fine." But there's a kid down the street 3 houses over who's not okay. He's just lost his mother in January and now his baby brother. So that kind of pulls on you a little bit.
Does this make you worried about living here?
Yeah, and as you can hear, just that mother talking about it. She told me earlier that she was just heard some noises, some gunshots, and I spoke to at least a dozen, or close to a dozen residents here, and they all reported hearing those loud shots. One person said they had served in the military and they knew the gunshots when they heard it, but they thought it might have been behind them. It was so loud in the section of townhomes behind them, but they were shocked to find out when they came outside it was their neighbor, and that terrible tragedy of one of those bullets striking that 4-year-old child. And as you also heard that lady speaking about, her daughter goes to school with the older sibling of that 4-year-old who was killed, and unfortunately those siblings, including that 4-year-old, had just only moved here months ago after their mother died. They were living with their grandmother in that townhome where those bullets went through. Police say they're still looking for anyone responsible. They say if anyone out there has information about what happened, you're asked to give them a call. They say somebody out there knows something, somebody can give us any information that would lead to getting the people responsible behind bars. That's welcome. So if you have any information at all, please give police a call. We're right here in Steele Creek. Jane, we'll send it back to you.
I'm just beyond words. Unspeakable event there. Shooting, killing a 4-year-old. The older sibling is under 18 as well, from what I understand, Richard.
Yeah, and actually goes to the same school, I won't say his school just for his own privacy, but he goes to the same school as that woman we just heard from. Her daughter and that older sibling go to the same school.
And the grandmother, Richard, what do we know about the grandmother? Has she been talking to neighbors or any of you or police?
I saw other relatives being, when I walked up on the scene, I actually saw a police officer consoling one of the relatives who was, of course, just walking around in shock and disbelief. I saw another relative who was crying, but that grandmother, she's not there anymore, but she was sitting in a chair, like kind of between those two houses, and she just had that look, a blank stare, like she was still in shock over what happened, you know, taking care of her grandchildren because her daughter died and now she's lost her youngest grandchild.
Oh, okay. Richard, thank you for that update in Steele Creek, a shooting at a townhome because it all started with a car thief trying to take at least one car there, a Charger, and ended up shooting into that home. All right. Richard Devane live for us. Thank you so much for that report. We know we'll keep you updated with Richard's latest findings after talking to press. Back here in the Live Impact studio on WCNC Plus, we are also covering a story right now that's making international headlines, of course, because President Trump, making his second visit to the UK. This is his second state visit, and he was hanging out with King Charles as well as Prince William at Windsor Castle. Alice Barr from NBC News, also at Windsor Castle, bringing us the latest for NBC News on WCNC Plus.
President Trump in the UK for an unprecedented second state visit by an American president. The royal reception at Windsor Castle, hosted by King Charles.
He's been a friend of mine for a long time, and everybody respects him.
With pageantry marked by full military honors and secured by an extraordinary police presence on land, air, and water.
We're going to be doing high visibility patrols, some searching, some specialist searching in and around the area.
In one sign of tightened security, an open carriage ride for the president, first lady, and the royal family contained inside the castle grounds and out of public view, with a heightened threat environment prompting a top-to-bottom review.
A review of the routes being taken, the premises, the residents they're staying at, looking at any buildings that overlook those areas.
Protesters already gathering outside Windsor, some unfurling a giant photo of President Trump with Jeffrey Epstein, the scandal over the late sex offender rearing its head in the UK after the Prime Minister fired the British ambassador to the US amid new details about his ties to Epstein. Protesters also speaking out on the escalating wars in Gaza and Ukraine, as President Trump again pressured Ukrainian President Zelensky to end the war Russia started.
You're going to have to get going and make a deal.
Solidarity for Ukraine sure to be top of mind in 2 days of meetings with one of America's closest allies. From Windsor Castle, Alice Barr, NBC News.
And in just 2 minutes, we'll get out, maybe we have to get out our coats. I'm not quite sure. Meteorologist Chris Mulcahy is in the Live Impact studio with a check of your weather. That's coming up in 2. Welcome back to Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Time right now is 9:10. You might have had to wear a sweatshirt overnight. I don't know. I do because I'm weak and I get cold easily. Some of you guys are like wearing tank tops. Tank tops and flip-flops. What is it, Chris?
It's definitely tank tops and flip-flops.
I know.
The mornings are going to be in the lower 60s, so it
See,
depends.
there you go, sweatshirt.
I also like to refer to this as lost jacket season for all the kids because they're wearing like a sweatshirt or a light jacket in the morning, and then it's like 80s to 90 during the afternoon, and then there's like, I don't need that. So this is the time that, or it's also your back seat's cluttered with a variety of thicknesses of overwears.
That's why fall frustrates me. I know I've said it before, and I always get like,
you get slack?
I get roasted every year for it in the newsroom. They're like, how could you get frustrated with fall? It's because
we have to bring too many clothes
things around.
Yep.
I don't want to carry a jacket around.
I do have the layers. I do
Yep.
want to do that.
It's not consistent.
No.
I agree. And also, it makes my job more valuable because if you think about it, during the summertime, you don't care about what the lows are because they're pretty much the same. And then for the highs, you can pretty much expect them to be the same unless there's some sort of witchcraft in the weather world. But no, like truly, it's so many ups and downs. Like, for example, a couple of weeks ago, we were in the 70s, and then now we're back to 90 degrees on Friday. So I understand. I get the frustration. And also, I think it's really funny that when people up north especially say, I love fall, I was like, you like 2 weeks because that's pretty much what you get.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
For us, at least, we have well through October before it really starts to get chilly, but let's look at many fun examples about what today is going to be all about. It has not really been a morning where temperatures have moved too much over the last few hours. The reason why, the cloud cover. Now, the cloud cover is starting to break as we're starting to see more signs of blue. We officially just warmed up, though. We were around 62 to 63 for about 4 to 5 hours across Charlotte. Now it's up to 67. Still a partly sunny day, but we're going to see a lot more blue skies as we work away in the afternoon. So unlike yesterday we started off cloudy, then it was sunny, and then more clouds took over. Today was already the cloudier start, and then we have a mix of cloud and sunshine. Then you're going to have a brighter sky as we are concluding the day. Our current temperature is 67, as I just mentioned, around Charlotte, 65 in Monroe, and then 63 over in Hickory, and then 58 degrees, almost back to the 60s for around the Boone area. And it's the second to last Ghost Peppers regular season game. Reason why I'm mentioning this is it's not necessarily the end of the season for them, because the way that the Atlantic Professional Baseball League deals with this is it's like the first half and the second half best records for the division will play each other in the playoffs. Well, the Ghost Peppers had an awesome back end of the forecast, so they officially are going to be in the playoffs. So this is not the end.
Good for the Ghost Peppers.
Yeah, good for the Ghost Peppers. They deserve this. Actually, even dating back to when they were the Honey Hunters, they've made the playoffs every single year.
Yeah.
So it's a really good organization. And if you haven't, you still haven't been, have you?
I have been.
You have
I've
been?
I've been to one game when they were still the Honey Hunters.
Yep.
My cousin plays pro ball, so he
Cool.
was actually playing there as the Somerset Patriots, and is the cutest little ballpark.
It's so quaint.
It's adorable.
Yeah, and things are a little bit cheaper there.
Yep.
Yeah, so we definitely highly recommend it if you have nothing to do, because this one's at 12:30, and oftentimes when you've been going to a Ghost Peppers game or even thought about it, it's been hot, humid, and miserable. Not the case, Carlene, so that's good news. And then tomorrow night's game should be actually pretty pleasant. It looks like we're going to be rain-free as well. High of 85 degrees for today, and then boom, up to 90 degrees on Friday, upper 80s on Saturday, and then overall it's going to be a mostly sunny sky for your Friday and for your Saturday as well. Here's a look at your satellite and radar. Not much is actually happening for the time being. We did have some rain that was barely on the Rowan County line. There was a chance for some sprinkles. I say no more. The sprinkles are gone. They're moving off towards the northeast. That's all associated with a coastal low that's pulling out, and that's going to allow for some brighter skies, more sunshine for the afternoon. And then once you get to about tomorrow, there are going to be a few cloudy periods. You're seeing signs of rain down to the south, so I will say if you live in Chester and Lancaster County, you will have a slight chance for a brief shower. Charlotte, you are staying dry. Same thing for your Friday, but most likely most of the area is staying dry over the next several days. Slight chance or a spotty chance on Saturday, and then an isolated potential on your Tuesday. Check out our dew points. Whenever they're around 60, it's sticky. Whenever it's at 65, boy, you feeling it. And we're going to have that return on Tuesday. The odd thing is, it's officially starting fall on Monday. So the first full day of fall is actually Tuesday. That doesn't feel fall-like whatsoever. So again, fall not really getting its act together, even though it is still technically summer. Our similar lows are going to be anywhere from about 63 to 65 over the next 7 days. They don't move much. So just expect the lower to the mid-60s. You know how to prepare for that. But our highs are the ones that really fluctuate. So I already showed you up to around that 90 degree point, 89 on Saturday, before things start to really drop off. So for our Jerry Hunt's Supercenter 7-day forecast, you see that top at 90 degrees on Friday, but then for the start of fall, officially starts at 2:09 on the dot p.m. on your Monday. That we call it the autumnal equinox is the technical name. And then after that, we're actually going to see a nice little revamp as far as our temperatures go. But this is the kind of time of year that you can kind of expect this, that the peaks that you see get a little less and less the further that we go into September and October. Now, I'm not saying that you will not see the 90s again. The latest we ever seen them is October 13th, but it's becoming less and less likely. Per climatology, it's actually becoming more a rarity. It's actually only been 10 times past the 26, which is the back end of this, that we've ever hit 90 degrees in Charlotte history after that date. Our low temperatures, 63 to 65, as I mentioned, but eventually we are going to see a drop off back to that 60-degree point, and our precipitation chance is very low. Just we see the return of those isolated storm chances the middle of next week. I also want to talk about tropical depression number 7. It's fun that it rhymes, and it's also good news that this is mainly going to be pushing out to sea. 5 a.m. was the most recent advisory, and we will have another update at 11 o'clock. This will have a better name, likely Tropical Storm Gabrielle, here in the next 12 hours or so. I think the earliest will be 11 o'clock, but then you might see it by either the 2 or the 5 o'clock update. Once winds get up to about 39 miles per hour, it'll say 40 miles per hour here on this map, then it'll officially become a tropical storm. And likely it's going to be Tropical Storm Gabrielle over the next 3 to 4 days. Then by the end of the weekend, then I think we're going to be upgrading this thing to a Category 1 hurricane. Could even happen a little bit earlier than that. And then I would not be surprised if this becomes a major hurricane before it gets to Bermuda. And right now things are trending that it's going to steer away from Bermuda, but there's still a lot that can change here. So I want to show you the model track. By the way, we still have another system that's developing behind this, but that Bermuda high is going to glide this back out to sea. So this is not a threat to the United States. Good news there. Bermuda does have a chance that it could either get directly impacted, an indirect impact, or nothing at all. That's kind of where it's at. It doesn't really look like it's going to move west of Bermuda. It's either going to be a direct hit, it gets the western side of the storm, or it's just some strong surf that comes with it. It's something that we'll watch for Bermuda itself, but again, for the United States, not a big issue. When we're talking about tropical forecasting, it's all about steering currents. So you have to think that the way that the old Maritimes will guide themselves is through the different trade winds. Well, the biggest guidance is usually what's called the Bermuda high. Physically, it's a clockwise rotation around this high-pressure system. That's what you see for that big blob in the middle of the Atlantic. That's what's going to take Gabrielle and glide it out to sea. Now, what you're going to see is that pattern is actually going to break down by day 6 to 10 of the forecast. And the reason why that's significant is that is going to be more favorable that if any sort of low pressure system develops in the Caribbean near the United States, that it will have a better chance of actually impacting the U.S. It's not going to be steered out by the current of this high pressure system. So I just want everyone to know, especially by the end of September and early October, that's going to be the prime time that if we're going to get a storm that's going to impact the U.S., I think it's going to be during that time frame. I'm not seeing any representation by the long range models that could come to fruition. Just want everyone to know. So that wraps up your forecast with the bow. Overall, it's hot to fall, summer, fall, all over the place. Hurricane season, not hurricane season. As Carlene had said, fall, it can't make up its mind, which is its biggest downfall.
It's frustrating.
It's
frustrating. I'm a summer
frustrating
girl.
fall. I love summer too, but I do like the fall.
I love like those 70s, like 80-degree point when it was super comfortable.
Dry 70s.
Bring it back. That's what I want. We don't have that this week, but eventually bring it back.
Okay. All right. We'll get our last ounce of summer here.
Exactly. Pool days aren't over. We got some great ones on the way.
Still splish splash.
All right. Splish splash. Taking a bath. Thank you, Chris.
Of course.
Here we are at 9:20 right now, and want to switch gears because a new report from the U.S. Chamber of Commerce reveals this. Well, it's called a quiet transformation. It's happening on Main Street. Small businesses are rapidly embracing advanced technologies like AI and crypto to transform how they operate and grow. So here to discuss these findings, what that means for you, for America's small businesses around the country, is Jordan Crenshaw. He's the Senior Vice President at the U.S. Chamber of Commerce's Technology Engagement Center. Jordan, thank you so much for joining us here on the Live Impact Studio.
Good morning, Jane.
All right, so let's talk about this report. And, like I said, AI, crypto growing faster than many expected. How are small businesses utilizing it? And what about these findings surprised you?
Well, what we found is that small businesses are embracing AI and different types of emerging technology. And What we found is actually there was a very sharp increase in usage this year. In fact, a record number, 60% of small businesses across the U.S. are using some form of generative artificial intelligence. And that's, things like ChatGPT, coding AI, as well as Google Gemini, for example. But one of the interesting things here is that we actually looked at crypto usage among small business owners. And what we found is that about a third of small business owners are in some way using crypto in their small business in North Carolina. So what we found is, not surprisingly, is that small business owners are embracing this tech and they're thriving.
All right. So how are they using this on a day-to-day operation?
Well, AI is really a force multiplier. And, one of the things that is really important to know about small businesses is they don't have the same resources from a time standpoint or financially to compete against larger companies, especially when they're getting started. And what we found is that these small business owners are really innovative in how they're using generative AI. They're using it to streamline marketing. They're sourcing alternatives to products in the wake of potential tariffs and inflation, and even using it for things like product design and designing equipment on their manufacturing floor. And the real thing we've learned here is that AI is working. Just in North Carolina, 90% of small business owners who are using generative AI have reported that they actually had increased workforces compared to their competitors who are not using it.
Oh, okay. Because that is the question, right? What happens to people? What happens to workers? Are we going to replace them with AI? So what is it about enhancing a small business that is able to increase the workforce?
Well, when a small business gets a great idea, and it's usually one or two people who are starting it off, and they don't have the capital of a larger company, they need to get any competitive advantage they can get to compete, and that's either cutting costs or cutting time that they're spending on things like back-end work, so that they can actually focus on providing the product or the service directly to the consumer that they love to do. I had an opportunity to chat with a coffee shop owner who is in San Francisco, who said he's using generative AI to cut down his marketing time down by about 70%, so that he can spend more time with this handful of employees who are using this technology. And he's been able to grow his business, and he has a great online e-commerce sales system in place. So these small businesses can grow, and then they can take on new employees. And this small business owner, Hrog, at Henry's House of Coffee in San Francisco, he's now passing this knowledge along to his fellow employees and his baristas. He actually has an innovation hour on Wednesdays and teaches them how to use this tech to prepare them in the workforce. And so what we're seeing is with increased growth comes increased employment, and it really is providing the opportunity for small business owners to maximize their dreams there. So it's really an exciting revolution we're seeing in this space.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about the challenges then. What kind of obstacles would prevent small businesses to check out the AI, or that might be intimidated by AI or crypto?
Well, one of the things that small business owners are particularly concerned about is a growing legal environment that's complex, that's hard for them to stay afloat. As I mentioned earlier, small business owners, they have limited resources in both finances and time as they're trying to compete. And that's true for compliance and for even potentially having to hire lawyers for things like frivolous litigation. And what we found this year is a record number nationwide this year. 65% of small business owners are concerned about a patchwork of 50 states creating their own different laws on things like AI that would make it practically impossible for them to comply, and is effectively a new tax on doing business for them. And so it's important that Congress gets to work and passes a federal framework that would stop the states from creating confusion for these small business owners. And also looking even at crypto too, what we found was that 70% of small business owners said that if there was a little bit more regulatory clarity around crypto, they'd be more likely to use that tech as well. But the name of the game here really is we need certainty and predictability and the rules that are made so that small businesses have the ability to stay afloat.
All right. So for the small business owner that's watching right now who is interested but doesn't know where to start, your advice to them?
Go out there and experiment with the technology. There are great resources online. We've seen many great small business owners self-teach themselves how to use this technology on things like YouTube. But there's also some greater resources out there to dive deeper into learning how to get the most out of prompting AI systems. The U.S. Chamber and our partner Co., which is our small business hub here at the Chamber, has some really great resources online about how small businesses are utilizing this tech. But there are also great examples of training programs at local chambers of commerce and community colleges that are helping here as well. So there's a lot of really great resources I would encourage folks to get out there and utilize.
All right. It is the frontier, not even the new frontier. It's like happening right now. So a lot of people will probably get a good leg up if they listen and go to those resources. Thanks, Jordan. Appreciate your time this morning.
Thanks, Jane.
Jordan Crenshaw from the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, letting us know how small businesses can utilize AI as well as crypto and how they're doing it to advance their own business. Right now, we're going to advance into a 2-minute break. We'll be right back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Hello there. We're back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. You might recognize my friend Katie McGee here. She is from Special Olympics, North Carolina. We met a couple of weeks ago, Katie, because of an event that's happening in Raleigh next weekend. The rappelling off the 19-story building. That I'm not down with that. I know a lot of people are going to be excited about it. I'm very excited for the people who are excited about it. And that's awesome because it all goes to Special Olympics, North Carolina. But there's something I can get down with. It is eating steak, no less. Okay, so there is a great event, Tip a Cop, and it's happening at a number of Texas Roadhouse locations. So yeah, let's get right into it, Katie. What is Tip a Cop, and how do people get involved?
So Tip a Cop is a fundraising event that we host through the Law Enforcement Torch Run for Special Olympics North Carolina, which is the largest grassroots fundraiser for Special Olympics worldwide. So they basically have law enforcement officials and officers come into a location. In this case, it's Texas Roadhouse, which we're very excited about. And they help wait staff. They chat with the tables. They can help deliver the food. They're helping with the whole ordeal when you're in the restaurant. And hopefully you love their service and they do a great job and you'll give them a tip.
A tip.
And that tip will go back to Special Olympics North Carolina.
Okay, do they need to, this is the flyer we're looking at right now. Oh, it says show the flyer below.
You can show the flyer, or you can say that you're there to support Special Olympics North Carolina.
Okay.
And when you do that, 10% of the profits from that night that come from those scenarios where you say that you're there or you show the flyer, they come back to Special Olympics North Carolina.
Yeah, they always have partnered with Special Olympics for a while. How did this collaboration come about?
Texas Roadhouse has been across the country a great collaborator for Special Olympics programs. Specifically in Texas, they had a great relationship. As you can see, Texas Roadhouse, of course, they went hand in hand together. So Special Olympics Texas and Texas Roadhouse really pioneered the relationship, and it has crossed state borders, and now we're doing it here in North Carolina, and we're very excited to launch this Tip a Cop series, and we hope to keep doing it in the future.
Oh, this is awesome. All right, so I think I've actually been to Texas Road while they were having it. I didn't know that it was happening, and yeah, it was nice to see everybody there. Everyone's having a good time, eating the food, tipping the cops, and knowing that it goes to a great cause. So for those who are not familiar with Special Olympics North Carolina, who do you serve?
We serve people with intellectual disabilities. They can be children or adults. We have 20 sports in North Carolina specifically that they can train and compete in. The minimum age to train and compete is 8 years old, but we do have unified, meaning people with and without intellectual disabilities playing together. We have unified programming for children ages 2 through 7 to help prepare them for the foundations of sport, and they can get involved once they turn 8, and there's no upward age limit. So you can be 92 and keep on playing your bocce or your bowling, whatever you like.
All right, and so events like this, like Tip a Cop, I call it rappelling off the building, how do they impact the athletes that you support?
Absolutely. All of the funds that are raised through events like Tip a Cop go straight to Special Olympics North Carolina, where we have nearly 53,000 Special Olympics athletes and unified partners here in North Carolina. So when you support Special Olympics North Carolina, your donation, the tip that you leave for an event at Tip a Cop, goes to support our programs, to help support athletes as they take on new sports with their uniforms, their equipment, whether it's for travel, if they're going from their hometown to Raleigh or Charlotte for a competition. It covers their travel, their hotels, all of that. Special Olympics athletes are never asked to pay a fee, so funding like this is really crucial to the movement.
That's amazing. What would you say to someone who's never been involved with Special Olympics but wants to support the cause?
I would say an event like Tip a Cop is a great first step. There will be Special Olympics athletes out at all of our Tip a Cops, as well as the law enforcement officers. So, go ahead out there and get to meet some Special Olympics athletes. And it comes better from hearing it from them directly why you should get involved. And they'll tell you exactly why you should get involved once you meet them. So go out there and see if you can get to know some of them. And they'd be happy to show you exactly why they love our movement and why it's so beneficial to them.
And if you can't go to a Texas Roadhouse tomorrow, because tomorrow's the 18th, or do the Tip a Cop, how can people still support financially?
Yeah, absolutely. They can go to our website at sonc.net. We do have a direct donation link that goes to support, or you can reach out to any of our development staff if you have a company that wants to sponsor, you're interested in getting involved with one of our fundraisers. You can go on our website and look at any of our fundraising opportunities. We have some really fun events like Tip a Cop, like the Over the Edge event that's coming up next weekend. We also have a plane pull that takes place each spring where people make teams and pull a 50,000-pound plane, which is pretty crazy.
That's cool.
Yeah, some very fun events out there that you can get involved in.
All right, it's so good. I mean, as we wrap this up, Katie, what is the message to viewers about why supporting Special Olympics North Carolina really makes a difference? Why does it matter?
Absolutely. We, like I said, have nearly 53,000 Special Olympics athletes and unified partners here in North Carolina, but there are hundreds of thousands of people with intellectual disabilities across the state. So when you support Special Olympics North North Carolina directly, we're helping more people with intellectual disabilities get off the sidelines and get into the game. And it makes a huge difference for the quality of life, and whether that's socially, physically, with their mental and physical health. We have programs for all of that. So your support really does go a very long way.
I love it. Get in the game. Get in the game. All
Absolutely.
right. Any final details about tomorrow's Tippecop event?
Like we said, show that flyer or let them know you're there to support SONC. The time is from 5 to 9 p.m.
Okay.
At 19 Texas Roadhouse locations across the state, all the way from Asheville to Wilmington. So go on our website and you can check out where those are. In the Mecklenburg, Cabarrus area, there are 2 locations, one in Concord and one in Matthews. So definitely head out there if you have time tomorrow night.
All right, Concord, Matthews, Texas Roadhouse, we're coming to you tomorrow. Tippecop supports Special Olympics North Carolina. We're going to let our friends and family and loved ones and those who we don't even know, we're going to let them get in the game with your support. Katie McGee, Special Olympics North Carolina, helping us, telling us what is happening in our community, and that is what's happening. So, everybody needs a meal.
Absolutely.
And
it's a great meal to have.
It's
too.
a good meal to have. And, you can crush some peanuts and throw it on the floor and then tip a cup. Love it. Love it. That's very great. Thank you, Katie.
Thank you.
And we'll have that information on our website as well on WCNC.com. While we're talking about heroes of sorts, because really the athletes that participate in Special Olympics North Carolina, they are heroes to themselves, to their family. What a motivation, as well as Katie doing the work. We also have our hometown hero on WCNC Charlotte, and this happening amid a rising need for resources for the unhoused. A Kings Mountain woman making it her life's mission to rise to the occasion. So she is our latest Hyundai hometown hero, and she now has a brand new 2026 Hyundai Santa Fe, and this is why she is our hometown hero.
On an ordinary morning in Kings Mountain, a woman with an extraordinary heart is inside this restaurant, having what she thinks is just an unassuming breakfast with her friend.
This is something that Teresa and I do about once a month or so.
But that friend, Margot Plonk,
I was very nervous about the timing, about everything coming together,
is in on the Hyundai Hometown Hero Surprise and is one of many in the community who told us who our latest hero should be.
She's an angel here on earth. She really is.
And up until this point, that angel, Teresa Wingo, has been doing all the blessing, each and every day, hitting the streets to connect with our unhoused neighbors, delivering food, clothing, and essentials.
She's out before the sun rises, giving out food and whatever the homeless community needs, and she's just selfless.
And when Wingo and Plonk wrap up their meal,
how are you doing? My name's Vanessa Rufus. I'm with WCNC Charlotte. I was looking for Teresa Wingo.
We're waiting outside.
I don't know if you've heard of a program that we do called Hyundai Hometown Heroes, but we heard about all of the great work you're doing in the community.
Teresa, we appreciate everything you do for our community. We want to present you with a brand new 2026 Hyundai Santa Fe. We hope that it helps. You can use it to help continue serving your community. Thank you.
I watched my mom give her shoes off her feet. I watched her feed strangers. A couple years I went home and she had a guy sitting at the table eating. And I said, Mama, who is that? She's like, I don't know. He said he was hungry and I fed him. This is why I learned from my mom.
I tried to teach Teresa to do the right thing. And like she said, I still tell her. And tell my grown sons and my grown grandkids.
Thank you so much.
Treat people like you wish to be treated. God will bless you.
And just when Wingo thought the surprises were done, a look in the trunk found one more, a $500 gift card from Harris Teeter.
And so not only are you getting this car courtesy of Charlotte area Hyundai dealers, but now you'll have a little extra money to help with the essentials for the work that you're doing.
We want to just give back to the people who help our community. It's important for us to do that, for us to help others, like Miss Teresa does. She gives back to others. It's not about her. That's what we want to do for somebody else and help her continue to do that within the community.
a gift coming seemingly just in time as Wingo's old car had put on some miles.
I had to put duct tape on the bumper to hold it in because I had to keep riding, right? And then the air conditioning was out. Every good gift comes from God. And it's nothing about Teresa Wingo. It's the purpose that I have this car. And it's for him to get the glory. We all can do something for somebody. If it's your coworker, the neighbor next door, the people that just moved into the community, we can all do something for somebody.
Oh my goodness. All right. In this world where things are happening, a lot of bad things happening, we also have some really good things happening between Special Olympics North Carolina and now our Hyundai hometown hero. And with that, we're going to take a quick 2-minute break. We'll be right back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. And welcome back to Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Jane Monreal. Time right now 9:44 on this Wednesday morning. If you were with us earlier this hour, and we've been covering it since about 6 o'clock this morning, awful news out of Steele Creek where a child has died, a 4-year-old dying in a shooting where it started with a car thief in the townhome neighborhood, and thieves were trying to steal a car. Then they fired shots hitting a 4-year-old while he was sleeping in bed. We have now some raw interview sound from CMPD talking about this incident and more details into what happened early this morning, as well as a raw interview that our Richard Devane gave us a little snippet of earlier this hour. We have this compelling, emotional interview from a neighbor, a mom who can relate with the pain of losing a child. And it's just an awful, heartbreaking situation here. But we'll get you caught up here now. A shooting in Steele Creek where a 4-year-old has passed away.
And I would start with, good morning, but this is obviously not a good morning. Officers responded here just after 6 a.m. Response to
All right, it looks like that sound is sort of doubled up and echoing right now, so we'll go and reconnect that, get that back online. In the meantime, this is the neighbor.
Well, I was laying in bed. My daughter was getting ready for school, and I heard the gunshots. They seemed very close, so I just reached over, grabbed the phone, called 911, and told them that I had heard gunshots. And then I heard a car speed off. And got ready, told my daughter to get down, stay away from the windows, and then she got ready for school, and then I brought her outside, and that's when I saw the mayhem.
Your mother.
Yeah.
How does it make you feel?
As a mother, it's a hard pill to swallow. As a mother, you want to keep your children safe, and you know, you want to shield them from the world, you want to protect their innocence. And then when something like this happens, but then when it happens 3 doors down from you, how do you explain it? You know, she's in school now, and she's texting me, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And I told her I'm fine. She said, "Are you sure?" I said, "I'm fine." But there's a kid down the street 3 houses over who's not okay. He's just lost his mother in January, and now his baby brother. So that kind of pulls on you a little bit.
Does this make you worried about living here? You've only been here 2 weeks. Is this foreshadowing of future events?
It does. I mean, look at the world we live in. Look at the climate of our world. You're scared everywhere, but this little neighborhood nestled back, we thought it was a great neighborhood, and we still believe and hope that it is, but it does make you alarmed, and it does make you wonder.
You've been here, did you say 2 weeks?
2 weeks.
Where are you from?
We're from South Carolina.
South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
Charlotte's been in the news here.
Yeah, but I've been here 20-something years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. They say some people say it's a safe city. Is it still a safe city?
To be honest, I don't think any place is safe. You know, if you ask me about my little hometown in South Carolina, I like to think we're safe, but something happened there about a year ago. So I don't think we're safe any place. You just have to raise your children right, be good people, and just pray, you know, that you are safe and nothing happens.
A lot of the time we hear about crimes are targeted. This time it was a random situation. A child in his bedroom had nothing to do with this. How much worse does that make the situation?
It makes it a heck of a lot worse. I don't understand crime, but if it's 2 people going at it, you probably could see that. But then an innocent baby in the bed where they're supposed to be safe in the comfort of their home, that's a heck of a lot worse.
Anybody else?
Is this going to kind of change your outlook on this area right now? I mean, this was kind of a random type thing. I mean, it's still a fairly safe neighborhood.
Mm-hmm. We like it here. I think it'll change how we maneuver, but I don't know. I just know it'll change how we maneuver and how we be on the lookout for things, and how we're going to have a watchful eye.
It's one thing not to be safe on Charlotte trains, but not to be safe in Charlotte homes.
Yeah, that's another thing, yeah. The train situation, I get that, masses of people, but in our safety of our own home, your home is supposed to be your sanctuary. It's supposed to be safe. And then when things like this happen, it does shake you, and it makes you wonder.
And I would start with, good morning, but this is obviously not a good morning. Officers responded here just after 6 a.m. In response to stolen vehicle service. Call for service. Upon arrival, determined that as a part of that.
Okay, so we heard from the neighbor about what just happened at her neighbor's townhome, and just bringing up so many concerns for family safety, public safety. We're still gathering more information as to where the suspects may be, who they are, a description, when this happened, but thieves attempting to take a car in this residential neighborhood in Steele Creek, then drove off with the car, and what we know is that they fired shots, those shots hitting the bedroom of a young boy, 4-year-old, sleeping in bed, shooting and killing him. Here is that CMPD sound now on WCNC Plus.
And I would start with good morning, but this is obviously not a good morning. Officers responded here to Cigar Court just after 6 a.m. In response to a stolen vehicle call for service. Upon arrival, it was determined that as a part of that incident, some shots were fired into a residence here. Those rounds struck a 4-year-old male inside the residence, and unfortunately that male was pronounced deceased on scene. Homicide detectives have arrived on scene, as well as our crime scene personnel. This investigation is active and ongoing, and they are working through the pieces, trying to bring closure to this incident right now.
Major, do we know what the suspects are in this case?
I'm sorry?
Are there any other injuries?
No, ma'am, no other injuries other than the deceased.
Do we know where the car is, the suspect?
We do not know where the suspect vehicle is. We do have information that a black Dodge Charger with red brake calipers was stolen from the scene, and it fled from the neighborhood at a high rate of speed.
These were random bullets in the air.
I'm sorry?
These were random bullet shots.
These are absolutely not random bullet shots. These were fired directly, intentionally into this residence for reasons we don't know. And it's very important, to understand that when you discharge a firearm, someone or something is going to stop those rounds. And when these rounds are negligently discharged like this, this is what happens. Someone or something gets hit. These rounds do not vaporize into thin air. And in this case, this young man was unfortunately suffered the consequences of the actions of these suspects. Somebody out there watching me knows who's responsible for this, knows the identity of these suspects, and these people need to be held accountable for this incident. So we would ask anybody that has information related to this case to call Crime Stoppers at 334-1600 and share that information with our homicide investigators.
Do we know how many rounds were fired and why they may have fired?
I don't have information on the why behind all this. There's no good reason why, and I don't know the exact number of rounds. That's part of the ongoing investigation that we'll be working on. But there's no good reason why anyone would discharge a weapon into an occupied residence as a result of trying to take a car. It just doesn't make any sense.
Any estimate as to how many rounds were fired in total?
I don't have any information on specific numbers of rounds right now. That's part of the ongoing investigation and what they're working on determining.
How frustrating is this to come to a scene like this? Especially this.
This is absolutely tragic. Every crime is frustrating, and especially every homicide is frustrating. When you talk about the death of a child that should be getting up and going to school right now, that was absolutely not responsible in any way for these circumstances unfolding. This is absolutely frustrating and infuriating, and our investigators will be throwing everything we have at this, absolutely every resource we have at this, and we need the help from the public watching this to help us with this investigation.
One more question.
Was this person, maybe I missed this, I don't know, but was this person returning fire, or he was just randomly just shooting?
That's the most frustrating part of this. There is no indication that anyone in the residence discharged any weapons or presented any threat to these suspects whatsoever at this time. That this was, for whatever reason, rounds were fired into this residence unprovoked, and this is the result. We now have a deceased child.
Okay. Thank you so much.
And we will be sure to follow up on any updated details on a suspect and what you can do to help CMPD find the killer of this 4-year-old boy in that Steele Creek neighborhood. I want to switch gears right now. If you were with us yesterday, you might have heard a major merger in the way of higher education. Queen's University merging with Elon University with over 100 years tradition in the Queen City. What does that mean for students and making this superpower essentially in the Charlotte area? It does seem that both university presidents are excited. Jesse Cureton spoke to WCNC Plus. This is his interview from yesterday, played in its entirety for you now here on WCNC Plus.
Today is a significant historic day in the 170-year history of Queen's University. We have made a decision with Elon University and Queen's to merge, to bring these two powerful universities together. Elon with its historic history from Burlington, North Carolina, Queen's as a women's institute and now an integrated university will have a significant impact on student enrollment. It'll have a significant impact on our ability to partner with business communities. It is indeed an exciting day. We are stronger together, bringing these two universities together, and we start with focus on our students, our faculty, and the investments that we can continue to make in Queens.
How long has this been in the works? How long did it take to make this happen?
Earlier this year, our university made a very strategic decision that what's more important was to decide what decisions we need to make today that we would have wished we had made 50 years from now. That became very clear that we would need to begin to think about strategic growth holistically, not only internal organic growth, but external inorganic growth. With that conversation, we leaned into the opportunities to partner and to merge and to consider partners outside of healthcare, outside of education, and within higher ed. One of the best opportunities we had was an interest by Elon to talk with us about professional collaborations. That conversation started very early, and it wasn't long for us to realize that our cultures were so similar that we could really talk about bigger and stronger, more powerful impact type of changes. And with that, we leaned into the opportunity to merge, to complement two great universities that focus highly on higher ed, focus highly on student education, and we knew that it was the right thing for not only Queens and Elon, but the right thing for Charlotte.
What does this mean for students who are currently attending Queens or Elon?
So for the next 2 to 4 years, there's really no change. Students that are here at Queens will continue to get a great Queens education. Likewise, for Elon, we will take advantage of the curriculum on both campuses. It is an investment in higher standards. It's an investment in the future for both Queens and Elon. So no real change over the next 2 to 4 years.
What does this do for Queens' finances? Does this help financially?
So let me just start by saying this is a merger of two strong individuals, two strong schools. So we are truly stronger together. So what this does is for Elon, it gives Elon an opportunity to have a geographical presence here in Charlotte, North Carolina. For Queens, it gives Queens an opportunity to partner with a very solid, financially stable university and allow us to continue to invest not only in our campus, but to invest in what graduate programs that we can elevate here in this community to better partner with the business community, whether it's financial services, whether it's healthcare, or whether it's energy. So it truly is a stronger together partnership.
And will the institution here be known as Elon or be known as Queens?
So one of the things that we're going to do is create a listening session in the community. We're going to honor the Queens name and the Queens legacy. That's not going anywhere. But we will let the community and we'll let the consultants help us understand what's the best way to leverage both brands while at the same time respecting the legacy of the 170-year history of Queens and the 150-plus history at Elon.
Will you merge boards?
So we have identified a governance model. That's one of the things that we will work through over the next 4 to 5 months. What we have done today is sign a letter of intent, which then leads us to a definitive agreement. And through that definitive agreement process, we will determine what the governance will look like going forward with both of our boards. But we start today with bringing two powerful boards together and benefiting from all of the intellectual expertise that both brings.
Are you still the acting president? Or are they going to be looking for a new president? Or is this right off into the sunset?
Let me just say this. I start with what's best for Queens. And I'm in this role today as acting president because I want the best for Queens. And whatever that means, whether that's here means I'm here another year, or if that means I'm here for more than that, that will be the driver of that decision.
I have one question. Bless my heart, my phone is unplugged. From an enrollment standpoint, can you just talk about what Queens enrollment has been like prior to this point and how you see this benefiting that going forward?
So enrollment in higher ed for most institutions have been somewhat of a challenge. And so we're short of 2,000 students here at Queens. Elon somewhere in the neighborhood of about 7,000 or 8,000 students. So combined, we'll be well over 10,000 students. It does mean, in our view, a greater opportunity to generate demand for students here on campus. We think this Queens-Elon branded combination, again, with the great academic history of Elon, the great presence of Charlotte, we think that it will actually help us. Year over year, we're actually up in enrollment at Queens, and we think that we'll continue to do that as we move into 2026. We think this is all good for enrollment.
And I know you said for the next kind of 2 years it's going to be business as usual for right now.
Right.
Students that apply to Queens and Elon though going forward, how will this impact them? Like if they apply to Queens, like just is there anything that could change as far
So
as
for the next 3 or 4 years, the student that's applying to Queens will be applying to Queens. The student that's applying to Elon will be applying to Elon. Those students that are here today, nothing's going to change about their classes. Nothing will change about their diplomas or their degrees, and it will be true for Elon as well.
Does mean Charlotte's going to have another Division I football team to root for?
We'll see about that. We're going to let the data support that. We have a great basketball team here. Elon has a great football team. We'll decide where they will be, but what I can tell you is that both campuses will have athletics.
Will there be movement between students from Elon going to Queens and Queens going to Elon or anything like that?
So we think one of the exciting things about having two universities, at some point that's going to be a compliment for our students. We'll have students that are undergraduate students here that will have an opportunity to be placed in law school with Elon. We'll have students here that at some point will be able to take advantage of curriculum. That's at Elon. When we look at the courses that we offer, they don't all overlap. There are courses that we offer here that's not offered at Elon. There are courses that are offered at Elon that's not offered here. So we think it's going to be a great complement for our student selection. Great.
And that's a good time for us to take a 2-minute break here at the top of the hour. You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Hi, everyone. You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Jane Monreal here with you just after 10 o'clock on a Wednesday morning. We're just looking in here at the airport, Charlotte Douglas, and it looks like there is a live press conference. Let's go ahead and listen in here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus.
It's an arduous process, and it wasn't easy, but you stuck with us every day, and we built this for you. To our airport staff and partners, we cannot thank you enough. You have adapted, problem solved, and kept things moving, even while the building was changing all around you. We have helped passengers find their way, kept safety and operations running smoothly, and did it with such professionalism and grace. Thank you. To our aviation department staff, thank you for stepping up to volunteer during peak travel periods to guide our passengers through an ever-changing lobby. When the call went out, you responded without hesitation, embodying the spirit of hospitality and warmth. To our construction crews, project managers, architects, and engineers, thank you for transforming this vision into reality. Your work leaves a lasting legacy and is now an integral part of the fabric of our airport. It was a long road to get here, 5+ years, but today proves it was worth every step. We've created a space that reflects who we are as a city and as an airport, welcoming and ready for the future. Thank you for your trust, thank you for your commitment, and thank you for being on this journey with us. Now I'd like to introduce Jack Christine, our Chief Infrastructure Officer.
Thank you, Haley. Good morning, everyone. I'm Jack Christine. I'm the Chief Infrastructure Officer for Charlotte Douglas International Airport. I welcome you to a day that has been long time coming. It's a privilege to stand here today in front of you and speak about what is truly...
All right, we will put a pin in that press conference. It appears that they are talking about terminal expansion at Charlotte Douglas Airport. And we'll start from the beginning and get you caught up with that presser. Because right now we have a special guest joining us this morning. And this is about what's happening around the world. In world news headlines, Israel launching in recent days an intense new ground offensive in Gaza City, and an estimated 350,000 Palestinians now displaced. This has also drawn some international criticism. This morning we are joined live here on Zoom by University of North Carolina Chapel Hill political science professor. He's joined us before to weigh in on these events in the Mideast, Navin Boppet. And Professor Boppet, I know we're discussing the escalating conflict there. Thanks, first of all, for joining us here and getting us caught up on Live Impact News.
Thank you.
What does this scale of this mobilization tell us about Israel's military objectives?
So it appears that Israel's military objectives, so what's been stated is that this is going to be an effort to occupy Gaza City, which is the key population center in the Strip. That's again, if we look at population movement within Gaza, at the first phase, Gaza City was empty to some extent. There was a large movement out as the bombing escalated, and then the population reconcentrated there as there was a pause slightly in that particular area. And then now it looks like with the effort to stage a ground invasion of it, which is new, that might cause another population exodus. But again, every part of Gaza is potentially under risk, so it's not really clear where people should go.
Oh my goodness. So so much confusion as to what happens next. From a strategic perspective, how effective are these ground operations likely to help in achieving Israel's motives and stated goals?
So Israel's goals, there are two goals. It seems like one of them has taken the priority. So one goal is to destroy Hamas. The other goal was to release the hostages. Those two oftentimes were in contradiction to each other or were competing with each other, because to release the hostages, it would require Israel to negotiate with Hamas. They're not doing that, and Israel has sort of taken the track where they are aiming to destroy Hamas. So in sort of looking at this invasion, one thing about Gaza is that it is fairly isolated, right? It was cut off before the war. Egypt is not allowing any refugees to come in, so that might improve the chances for Israel to destroy Hamas. But the other thing to sort of say is it's not clear who is Hamas in that population. Hamas is intermixed into the population, and so who is a civilian, who is Hamas, that's not quite clear. So what Israel is going to do there to destroy Hamas, again, it's not clear how they exactly do this. I'd also add that a large portion of Gaza are people under 15 years old, right? So how they actually are identified as Hamas or not. Again, these are some big questions I think that Israel has to answer as to what exactly is the defined level of success. When do you say that Hamas is eliminated? Is it when it's eliminated as an ideology? Is it the entire membership is eliminated? Is it the original membership that's eliminated? Again, those are questions that I don't think have been answered by Netanyahu and his government.
All right, so I'm reading here a United Nations commission concluding that Israel is committing genocide, in their words, in Gaza, an accusation Israel is calling distorted and false. So how significant is this finding then in terms of international law and diplomacy?
So there's two sort of answers to that. One, Israel is typically and likely will continue to be protected by the United States in any international institution, especially in the United Nations. The United States has repeatedly vetoed any effort to try to condemn Israel through that institution. So as long as that's there, Israel, in a sense, has some cover and some protection to continue doing what they're doing. But I should emphasize that almost every other country in the world has basically suggested or is in line with the UN report where they believe that Israel is committing genocide. Now, I'll say again, the definition of genocide, one thing about it, which is sort of the source of contention right now, is that it requires intent. So a big part of it is the intent to destroy a people, along with the other components of the definition. And like in any courtroom, the proving of intent is not easy. So Israel is saying this is part of their effort to destroy Hamas, not necessarily the Palestinian people. But based on the results, I think that's allowed many other countries to conclude that this is an effort at genocide. Certainly that was the conclusion of the UN.
All right. I mean, 350,000 Palestinians, like I said, estimated to have fled. Many staying, though, despite the warnings from Israeli officials. What is this telling us then about the civilian population that is deciding to stay? What are their options?
So there's not many other options, to be perfectly clear about it. There's nowhere for them to. So Gaza is a very small territory just to begin with. There's no place for them to flee in Egypt. Egypt is trying to stop them from doing that. Jordan is not willing to accept them either. There also is nowhere to go in terms of going directly into Israel. That's not also an opportunity. So on one hand, there's no place for them to go. On the other hand, I think it's important to sort of recall this is these people's home, right? And so there's a real connection to that land and a real, I think, resistance to leaving it, like there would be for anybody. Again, this is something we see in any situation where we see refugees. Is it's hard for people to leave their home. It's where they are. It's where their lives are. So it's just difficult to uproot people and tell them to go, and then add to it, even if they wanted to. There really doesn't seem to be a place for them to actually go.
Wow. And so from here, the trajectory, where does it go? How can this be resolved, or, how could it evolve from here? How do you look ahead?
Well, it looks like right now the military operation has sort of taken precedence. There was some efforts at negotiations. So again, to sort of step back, it looks like the Trump administration had wanted some form of negotiated settlement where the hostages get released and Hamas disarms. Those two things are not necessarily compatible, because Hamas would not necessarily release hostages if it meant they had to completely cease as an organization. And then add to it, again, it's hard to identify who is Hamas and if all the Hamas members are actually still in this particular area. Israel recently struck Qatar because they believe that Hamas members were there. So again, it's not clear how exactly the negotiated settlement can work. And if that's what the United States and Israel stick to in that sense, then the negotiation doesn't look like it's going to be a very successful one, which means that the military operation will likely continue. And that seemed to be the conclusion, I'd say, of Secretary of State Marco Rubio in his visit there, that they're just sort of a resignation that this military operation has to continue. I don't know how that necessarily ends, again, because the end state has not been clarified.
And as one who teaches and studies political violence and international conflict, for our broader audience, what should viewers understand about what we're witnessing now there between Israel and Gaza?
Well, it's a very large-scale conflict for sure, right? So in terms of population, if we control for population, right, this is as bad as it gets. And there have been observers from other major conflicts throughout the world that have been in Gaza and looked at this. And again, this is a very, very violent conflict. It likely will have very significant implications going forward. Again, one thing we can say is that Israel, as a result of this, while they continue to have strong relations with the United States, they are getting increasingly politically isolated abroad, and that seems to be something that Netanyahu and the government's willing to tolerate. So again, that's going to be something that's going to be a political cost to Israel as a result of this. But I think the other thing to think about is what happens to the Palestinians that are especially those in Gaza that are absorbing this, and what happens to their lives after this. And that's, again, this is a very significant level of destruction for those individuals to try to recover from this. That's going to be an enormous task.
Wow. So much to hear and see and witness from afar. We thank you, Professor Nevin Boppitt from University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, as always, for weighing in, giving us some understanding about what's happening there. Appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you.
And with that, we're going to take a break here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Stay with us. You are watching live right now a press conference with airport officials at Charlotte Douglas. And really what this is, it's a celebration event of the terminal lobby expansion. Hooray! The crown jewel of CLT's destination program, this transformative 5-year project creating 175,000 square feet ahead of a brand new space and revitalized another area. So we've seen it. If you've been to the airport recently or in the last year, a number of times, I know. Yeah, they keep on adding, you know.
It's been a minute since I've been to the airport.
Oh, really?
So I haven't seen, I saw it like in construction. There was still plastic tarp and,
exactly.
you know, a hot mess there.
Yes.
What does it look like now?
Yeah, I mean, it's wider. You got some false walls though because they're expanding the ticket agents, not the gates, but the ticket agent counters.
Okay.
And then they've got art and some beautiful
fun and
structures. Yeah, and beautiful windows and bringing a lot more natural light. So.
Oh, that's nice.
So I guess they're just taking questions now from the media, and but basically that is what is happening, trying to elevate the passenger experience and keep pace with the region's amazing growth. That's what's happening here in Charlotte. It's growing. All right, let's see. We are going to get you caught up because now that we are in the 10 o'clock hour, there are a number of hearings that are happening. Yesterday, FBI Director Kash Patel in front of the Senate Judiciary Oversight Committee hearing. That got contentious at times, and so it appears that is happening right now.
This is the House's turn.
This is the House's turn. All right, let's go ahead and listen in here a little bit on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus.
Like human trafficking of women and girls, drug dealing, terrorism, and fraud, you ordered the 25 largest field offices to divert thousands of agents away from chasing down violent criminals, sex traffickers, fraudsters, and scammers to carry out this immigration crackdown. Director Patel, you treated the men and women at FBI with disrespect and paranoia. You've assembled a roving band of freelancing henchmen within your office and charged them with conducting unauthorized investigations, targeting and harassing career FBI employees. Amazingly, you forced senior leadership to repeatedly take polygraph tests to prove their political loyalty and pushed out leaders who refused these demeaning exercises. And now we're seeing one very clear reason why you want to build a political FBI: the Epstein files. You want an FBI blindly loyal to Trump and to you as his enforcer so you can continue your cover-up of a massive international sex trafficking ring with more than 1,000 victims, betraying all of the survivors of the sexual violence. Before you got in this job, you called for full release of the Epstein files, telling podcaster Benny Johnson that the only reason the list was not released by DOJ and FBI was, quote, because of who's on that list. Upon your confirmation.
All right, since that is happening with the House, that will be carried here throughout the day. But right now, we want to switch gears because right now it looks like the Senate help hearing is happening. And of course, this is a hearing titled Restoring Trust Through Radical Transparency. And this is former CDC Director Susan Menards who is testifying. Let's go ahead and listen in what she has to say.
Driven by vaccine distrust, fired 180 rounds into CDC headquarters in Atlanta, killing Officer David Rose. In the days after the attack, I focused on security, staff, and ensuring the CDC could continue its mission. On August 19th, I received a directive from the Secretary's office that I now required prior approval from my political staff for CDC policy and personnel decisions. On August 21st, I was told to return to Washington from Atlanta immediately, which would have meant missing Officer Rose's memorial, something I was not willing to do. When I did return, I was concerned about my ability to continue to lead the CDC while preserving evidence-based decision-making. Commitments I had made to this committee during my confirmation hearing. On the morning of August 25th, Secretary Kennedy demanded two things of me that were inconsistent with my oath of office and the ethics required of a public official. He directed me to commit in advance to approving every ACIP recommendation, regardless of the scientific evidence. He also directed me to dismiss career officials responsible for vaccine policy without cause. He said if I was unwilling to do both, I should resign. I responded that I could not pre-approve recommendations without reviewing the evidence, and I had no basis to fire scientific experts. He told me he had already spoken with the White House several times about having me removed. For 3 decades, I have worked at the intersection of public health, science, and technology innovation, always challenging the status quo and welcoming the changes that come from research and discovery. Even under pressure, I could not replace evidence with ideology or compromise my integrity.
Dr. Menards, you're almost out of time. I'll be generous, but if you could speed up just a little.
Vaccine policy must be guided by credible data, not predetermined outcomes. As I wrote in my September 4th Wall Street Journal op-ed, I agree with President Trump. We should not hesitate to ask for proof about our vaccines. And I also agree with his most recent comments that vaccines are not controversial because they work. Demanding evidence is exactly what I was doing when I insisted CDC recommendations be based on credible science. I was never misaligned with the administration priorities. The goals Secretary Kennedy recently cited publicly, protecting the public from threats, building infrastructure, modernizing systems, investing in the workforce, and enhancing scientific rigor were the same priorities I articulated at my confirmation hearing and began advancing during my short tenure. I remain supportive of those priorities. The question is whether they can be achieved without the expertise required at CDC. Regarding trustworthiness, I cannot define that word for Secretary Kennedy. I made commitments to this committee that I would lead with integrity, transparency, purpose, and work with Congress to maximize health outcomes and protect the American people. Secretary Kennedy told me he could not trust me. I had refused to commit to approving vaccine recommendations without evidence, fire career officials without cause, or resign, and I had shared my concerns with this committee. I told the Secretary that if he believed he could not trust me, he could fire me. The next day, I was told I still had my job, but the Secretary's expectations remained: approval of ACIP recommendations and dismissal of career scientists. I would not commit to that, and I believe it is the true reason I was fired. Tomorrow, the reconstituted ACIP will meet. Its composition has already raised concerns from the medical community. Based on what I observed during my tenure, there is a real risk that recommendations could be made restricting access to vaccines for children and others in need without rigorous scientific review. With no permanent CDC director in place, those recommendations could be adopted. The stakes are not theoretical. We already have seen the largest measles outbreak in more than 30 years, which claimed the lives of 2 children. If vaccine protections are weakened, preventable diseases will return. I was fired for holding the line on scientific integrity, but that line does not disappear with me. It now runs through every parent deciding whether to vaccinate a child, every physician counseling a patient, and every American who demands accountability. I want to end where I began with my confirmation hearing. I spoke then about the value of hard work, paying my own way through college, and my lifelong dedication to science and public health. On August 25th, I could have stayed silent, agreed to the demands, and no one would have known. What the public would have seen were scientists dismissed without cause and vaccine protections quietly eroded, all under the authority of a Senate-confirmed director with unimpeachable credentials. I could have kept the office, the title, but I would have lost the one thing that cannot be replaced: my integrity. Some may question my motives or mischaracterize my words. That is part of public life, but I am not here as a politician. I'm here as a scientist, a public servant, and a parent committed to protecting the health of future generations. The question before us is whether we will keep faith with our children and grandchildren, ensuring they remain safe from the diseases we fought so hard to defeat: polio, measles, diphtheria, whooping cough, and many others. Undoing that progress would not only be reckless, it would betray every family that trusts us to protect their health. Thank you, and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you. Dr. Ory.
Chairman Cassidy, Ranking Member Sanders, and distinguished members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to testify before you today. 3 weeks ago, I made one of the hardest decisions of my career. I resigned from CDC. I come to you as a doctor, as a scientist, and a mom. For over a decade, I worked as an emergency physician, treating patients where I saw firsthand how illness and death devastate families and loved ones, and even more devastating when it's preventable. That's what led to my career in public health. I changed my focus from treating individual patients to protecting the nation. I served 10 years at CDC under 6 directors and 4 administrations. In each case, priorities shifted, but decisions were grounded in evidence, transparency, and consultation with the world's best scientists. That has changed. I resigned because CDC leaders were reduced to rubber stamps, supporting policies not based in science and putting American lives at risk. Secretary Kennedy censored CDC science, politicized its processes, and stripped leaders of independence. I could not, in good conscience, remain under those conditions. America's progress in health is one of the greatest success stories in history. A century and a half ago, life expectancy hovered around 39 years. Today, it is nearly double that. And we got there through vaccinations, through safer food and water, through smoking cessation, and through the quiet, steady work of public health in every state and county across the country. There is certainly still work to be done to improve the health of our nation. But when we erode the institutions and processes that deliver evidence-based interventions to detect, prevent, and respond to health challenges, as Secretary Kennedy is doing, we trade proven gains for avoidable harm. We know vaccines save lives, yet all 17 voting members of ACIP, the committee that sets vaccine recommendations, were replaced with critics. Flu campaigns were halted despite 270 pediatric flu deaths last season, the highest non-pandemic total ever, with 90% of those children being under or unvaccinated. We also saw the highest number of measles cases in 30 years, with 2 children dying. Instead of promoting vaccines, the Secretary spread misinformation and promoted unproven treatments. CDC's labs and data systems are our nation's first line of defense against pandemics and biothreats. But those defenses are being weakened. Under the Secretary, global flu sample submissions have dropped by 60% and COVID samples by 70%, leaving us with far less visibility into what's coming. At the same time, moving experts on birth defects and chronic disease out of CDC will fragment our response capacity. We learned during Zika and more recently with Oropouche that reproductive health expertise was essential in these complex infectious diseases causing birth defects. Due to the Secretary's actions, our nation is on track to see drastic increases in preventable diseases and declines in health. Trust and transparency have been broken. Here again, the problem is not too much science, but too little. I first learned that the Secretary had changed our CDC COVID vaccine guidance on an ex-social media post. CDC scientists have still not seen the scientific data or justification for this change. That is not gold standard science. The Secretary's office ordered the removal from our website of the CDC scientific document on thimerosal, an additive to vaccines that science has shown is not linked to autism, while allowing an unvetted presentation on thimerosal to happen at ACIP, containing scientific assertions that were not assessed for data quality and bias. That kind of last-minute alteration undermines confidence in the deliberations that follow and is certainly not radical transparency. While at CDC, I worked with thousands of the hardest working, dedicated people I know who come to work every day to help all Americans live safer, healthier lives. My goal today is to provide real examples of the damage CDC is experiencing and to offer constructive steps squarely within Congress's responsibilities. I look forward to your questions.
Thank you. Obviously, I was generous with Dr. Menarez. If and when HHS officials come, I'll be equally generous with them. And by the way, I had said publicly that we would swear in the witnesses, but that would have required consent of the minority, and the minority did not agree to that. So,
If I,
please.
when Secretary Kennedy came before us, he was not sworn in. To the best of my knowledge, no person ever before the Health Committee has ever been sworn in.
Which would widely require unanimous consent, and it's certainly the right of the minority to object to that, and he did. So, Susan.
I would ask unanimous consent that the witnesses for this hearing and the subsequent hearing be sworn in.
Unanimous consent motion has been made. Is there an objection?
Chairman Cassidy, I object to the request to waive our committee rules. We did not swear in Secretary Kennedy. He appeared before this committee on 2 occasions, and to change the rules right now in a highly politicized moment seems to me to be extremely unfair to Dr. Menarez and Dr. Howry.
But she is suggesting that we would do it for the HHS officials that came.
We have not done it. I think it is unfair. You did not swear in Kennedy on 2 occasions. I don't think you changed the rules right now.
Okay. I will note that it's against the law to lie to Congress anyway.
That's right.
And so, but I do think putting people under oath sometimes makes them more believable.
And
but
we can discuss that for future hearings and maybe go along with that, but not right now.
Okay. Dr. Menarez, I just entered into the record the op-ed from the Secretary and your report, and both of those suggest that you and Secretary Kennedy were actually pretty aligned upon CDC priorities. How many times did you meet with the Secretary in your 29 days? Be brief, I've got 5 minutes. Are you on?
Yes, can you hear me? I met with him twice. When he swore me in, he was in the room, he swore me in. And then I met him again on August 11th when he came down to tour the buildings that had been under the gunfire. And we chatted briefly.
And then you met the 25th as well?
And then the 25th, that's correct, yes.
Okay, and how many meetings were during around the period of the 25th?
We had 3 distinct meetings that day.
Okay, and what did he tell you to do?
In the first meeting, briefly, in the first meeting, he asked me to commit to firing scientists or resign. He asked me to pre-commit to signing off on each and one of the forthcoming ACIP recommendations, regardless of whether or not there was scientific evidence.
And what were those recommendations? Did you have a foreshadowing of what they would be?
I did.
We will try to get that picture unfrozen. In the meantime, you are looking at live images out of Windsor Castle. This is St. George's Chapel, where you might have seen President Trump walking along the lines of the soldiers with King Charles, and they are participating in a wreath-laying ceremony at the tomb of Queen Elizabeth II. But we'll get you back to the testifying of Dr. Menares in front of the Help Committee with the Senate.
Of HHS.
He did. In the second meeting that day, he indicated that one of his colleagues or collaborators, I don't know what the relationship is, was coming into town the following week, and he wanted me to meet with that person.
Who was that person?
The person was named Aaron Siri.
Aaron Siri, is he the trial attorney who wanted to get rid of the polio vaccine, allegedly, and President Trump slapped him down and said he couldn't do that? Is that the same Aaron Siri?
I don't know the second part of that, but I do know that there were public reports that he is the individual who had suggested getting rid of the polio vaccine.
Okay. Now, Secretary Kennedy told the Finance Committee that he did not ask you to pre-approve, but that you were biased against the new ACIP, and he just asked you to keep an open mind. Did he cite any data or science as relates to the potential ACIP recommendations to persuade you to support them?
He did not have any data or science to point to. As a matter of fact, we got into an exchange where I had suggested that I would be open to changing childhood vaccine schedules if the evidence or science were supportive. And he responded that there was no science or evidence associated with the childhood vaccine schedule. And he elaborated that CDC had never collected the science or the data to make it available related to the safety and efficacy.
To be clear, he said there was not science or data, but that you still expected you to change the schedule.
Correct.
Okay. Dr. Oury, Dr. Menares has just said the Secretary directed her to accept vaccine recommendations without seeing them and for which there is no science. Related to tomorrow's ACIP meeting, who decided what would be on the agenda?
So I don't have great visibility into that. I know the senior advisor and HHS counselor worked with our staff and the designated federal official and proposed items.
Okay. And who is the senior counselor?
The senior advisor is Stuart Burns, and the HHS counselor is Ren Archer.
And those are political appointees answerable to the Secretary?
Yes.
Is that the way does normally the Cabinet Secretary or political staff set the agenda for a scientific meeting?
Not for the past decade I was at CDC.
So this is the first time that's been the case?
Yes.
And in preparing materials for the meeting, were you told to disregard science or to enhance science, or what were you supposed to do?
For the last meeting, we had developed...
I'm talking about this meeting coming up.
So for this meeting, We didn't have work groups other than one for COVID, so CDC scientists were being asked by ACAP to develop questions and recommendations. I did suggest additional questions that the hepatitis B work group look at so that they could look at differences in age groups. The senior advisor was concerned that could bias moving away from a birth dose. I asked how asking questions and providing data could do bias if we didn't have the answers yet.
Biased against moving away from, you're suggesting that they wanted to move away from the birth dose, but they were afraid that your data would say that they should retain it?
Correct.
That's okay. Senator Sanders.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Meneras, at a September 4th hearing in the Finance Committee, Secretary Kennedy called you a liar for stating that you were fired because you refused to pre-approve vaccine recommendations. Is that accurate? Are you a liar?
That is not accurate.
Why did you believe it was so important for you to refuse to rubber stamp vaccine recommendations without seeing them or the evidence behind them? What did you fear was the worst-case scenario if you had agreed to doing that?
I refuse to do it because I have built a career on scientific integrity. And my worst fear was that I would then be in a position of approving something that would reduce access of life-saving vaccines to children and others who need them.
Okay. Dr. Meneras, the American Medical Association, the largest physician group in America, 270,000 physicians. The American Academy of Pediatrics, over 67,000 pediatricians. The American Academy of Family Physicians, representing over 125,000 doctors. The American Osteopathic Association, representing over 200,000 doctors. And the American College of Physicians, representing over 160,000 doctors. They believe that vaccines are safe and effective. Do you agree with them?
I do.
And what is your concern? What are the long-term implications for the well-being of our kids and the future of our country if faith in vaccine science is undermined?
I believe preventable diseases will return. And I believe that we will have our children harmed for things that we know they do not need to be harmed by. Polio, measles, diphtheria, whooping cough. I worry about the ramifications for those children in illness and in death. I worry about our school systems. I worry about our medical institutions having to take care.
I want to bring you some breaking news right now. As you see on your screen, there is an Amber Alert. You might have seen it on your phone. So this is what we have so far. It is Iris Everly Marie Fargus, last seen in a black 1028 Honda Civic.
Sorry, 2018. I mistyped.
Oh, 2018 Honda Civic, that plate. Not clear yet if it is a North Carolina plate, but it is out of Randolph County, JMS 6500. So letting you know that that Amber Alert is now out. A 1-year-old white girl weighing about 23 pounds with brown hair, brown eyes, at last check wearing an orange Halloween shirt and black Halloween pants. So that is the Amber Alert out of Randolph County in a black 2018 Honda Civic. If you know anything, see anything, you should call police. Let's get you back to the hearing now for the CDC, former officials there testifying in front of the Senate Help Committee hearing. You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC+.
0.8%. That leaves over 200,000 kids now at risk for measles. So we are at risk for measles outbreaks. And for the next type of pandemic, a novel pathogen, with some of the staff cuts we have faced, we have less ready responders, we have less visibility into global pathogens at this time as well.
What would have happened to our country, and in fact the world, if, and I don't agree with President Trump very often, God knows, but if we had not developed warp speed and developed that COVID vaccine, did that, in your view, save millions of lives?
Operation Warp Speed absolutely saved millions of lives and was such a godsend for our country.
And if we don't have the capability to do that in the future, the implications will be?
We won't be able to have vaccines to save lives and protect people. We won't have that technology development. We won't have that platform, and we won't have people willing to accept vaccines.
And that will impact not only our country, but people throughout the entire world.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Paul.
Dr. Menares, I agree with you completely that we need to restore trust in public health. But in order to do so, we have to have a discussion about the actual science, and we can't have a discussion this, is about all vaccines are good, all vaccines are bad. This is about specific vaccines, it's about specific age groups, and it's about specific policies. Does the COVID vaccine prevent transmission?
The COVID vaccine can reduce viral load in individuals who are
Does it prevent transmission?
When you have reduced viral load, you will have reduced transmission.
But in other words, it doesn't prevent transmission. You can still transmit the virus if you've had the vaccine. In fact, there's been reduced ability to interfere with transmission over time. And what we've found is the most recent one since Omicron is down around 16% reduction, if there is a reduction. Does the COVID vaccine reduce hospitalization for children under 18?
It can.
It doesn't. The statistics are inconclusive, and the reason you can't prove that it does is there's so few people under 18 that go to the hospital. The numbers are extraordinarily small. There's like 76 million kids under 18 in our country. 183 died, and a few thousand went to the hospital in 2020 and 2021. And since then, the numbers have dropped precipitously, and the idea and the issue needs to be discussed. But the COVID vaccine is not reducing hospitalization. It's not statistically significant. Does the COVID vaccine reduce the rate of death for children under 18?
It can.
Once again, it can. That's a ridiculous answer. No, it doesn't, and there is no statistical evidence that it does reduce the death rate. These are statistics. We've looked at it. When they approved it, they had this discussion at the vaccine committee that we've been talking about. During the discussion, they acknowledged that there was no proof of reduction in hospitalization or in death. So what they did is they said, what can we use to try to make people take this vaccine? They came up with this. They said that if we give you a COVID vaccine, you make antibodies. So really the whole recommendation for having a COVID vaccine from 6 months up is not based on hospitalization data, not based on deaths. It's based on whether you make antibodies or not. And what people fail to see from this is I can inject you with a foreign protein every week and measure your antibodies. You'll make antibodies every time. It just means immunology work has nothing to do with whether you should get a vaccine every week. So when we're discussing the science here, we have to discuss what is the science in favor of giving a vaccine to a 6-month-old, and what are the benefits from that? And there is no benefit of hospitalization or death. And then what would the risks of the vaccine be? We have large population studies of the risks of the vaccine in younger people. And it turns out that you don't see this as much if you look at the general population, but once you start isolating in by age group, which you have to do in COVID because there's such a disparity among age group, you find that there is a risk of myocarditis, a significant event. It's somewhere between 6 and 8 in 10,000. But that's much greater than the risk of hospitalization or death, which are not even measurable because they're so small. So you resisted firing people who have this idea that the COVID vaccine should be at 6 months. That's what this is about. You didn't resist firing the perfect, beautiful scientists that are career people and unobjective and unbiased. You wouldn't fire the people who are saying that we have to vaccinate our kids at 6 months of age. That's who you refuse to fire.
So that assertion is not commensurate with the experience that I had with the individuals who are identified to be fired.
Did any of the people you refused to fire, did any of the people you
answer the question?
Did any of the people you refused to fire believe that we should change the vaccine schedule and no longer force 6-month-old kids to take it? Every one of them was adamant we should keep it at 6 months. Everybody's alarmed, we're going to change the childhood routine. Well, we should. There is no medical reason. What is the medical reason to give a hepatitis B vaccine to a newborn whose mom has no hepatitis?
So none of the discussion points that you just brought up were ever...
That's changing the childhood schedule.
Do you allow her to answer the question?
Regular order,
You have your time, Bernie, I got mine. Look, This is the debate over changing the childhood schedule. The hepatitis B vaccine on the schedule is given to newborns. What is the medical, scientific reason and proof for giving a newborn a hepatitis B vaccine if the mom is Hep B negative?
I want to go back to the assertion associated.
What is the medical reason for giving a hepatitis B vaccine to a newborn? See, everybody's like blithely going along, we can't change the childhood. You're somehow terrible if you want to change the childhood. We should be discussing what is the childhood vaccine schedule? And the burden should be on you. You want to make all the kids take this? The burden is upon you and the people you wouldn't fire to prove to us that we need to give our 6-month-old a COVID vaccine and that we need to give our 1-day-old a hepatitis B vaccine. That's what the debate ought to be about, not whether all vaccines are good or whether we live in Alice in Wonderland.
I actually agree with you, and I was open to the science. I just would not pre-commit to approving all the ACIP recommendations without the science.
Untrue.
Is the witness allowed to answer that question, or do I have to use my time?
We'll go ahead and answer the question. I think she has to ask the question. Did she answer the question? Did you have more to say, Dr. Monarez?
The last thing I wanted to say about those scientists, we had never discussed any of their thoughts, considerations. Or
We being we. Who's we?
me and the scientists that I was being asked to dismiss. As far as I know, they had never said that they are pre-committed to maintaining any of the decisions that had been made. All of us had agreed that the science evolves and we need to see the data and the evidence to ensure that we are protecting our children.
Okay. Senator Murray.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In May, Secretary Kennedy announced in a video on social media that the COVID vaccine was no longer going to be recommended under CDC guidelines for most children and pregnant women. The fallout was actually immediate. I heard from a nurse in my state who was pregnant. She was trying to get the vaccine. She was turned away by several pharmacies, ended up calling my office and saying, what am I going to do? Dr. Howery, I wanted to ask you, how did you learn about CDC's new COVID vaccination guidance in May?
The same as you on social media.
What was your title at CDC when that happened?
I was the chief medical officer of the agency.
It's unthinkable to me that the chief medical officer at CDC was left in the dark about such a consequential public health decision that affected real people. Dr. Howery, how was this change in guidance supported by scientific evidence?
We have not seen the data yet. In fact, after the tweet came out, we asked for a written memo from HHS because I couldn't implement guidance off of a tweet. The written memo didn't say the same as the video. There was a difference between healthy versus all.
You can't provide guidance off of a tweet.
I didn't think that was prudent. And then we did ask for the data to back it up, and we have not received the data to date.
To date, no evidence. Okay. Well, the Secretary has made very clear that he wants to change the childhood vaccine schedule for measles and chickenpox and Hep B, as well as the COVID vaccine recommendations. And as we all know, the ACIP is meeting tomorrow to consider those recommendations. Dr. Monarez and Dr. Howery, I want to ask you both, are you aware of any scientific evidence to support changing the age of which children should get these vaccines that's being considered by this advisory committee? Dr. Monarez.
I am not. Sorry, I apologize. I am not. I was certainly open if there were scientific data sets or evidence associated with anything that would help keep our children safe. I was open to seeing it. I have not seen that data.
Dr. Howery?
Ditto. We've asked for the data and asked for the modeling to support any decision that is done.
Are either of you aware of any scientific evidence to support changing eligibility for COVID vaccinations?
I have not seen any evidence.
No.
I think it's pretty alarming that if there was such data, the CDC director and the medical officer would absolutely be aware of it, and apparently there is none. I want to continue asking about the ACIP. Dr. Monarez, you mentioned that Secretary Kennedy asked you to pre-approve the September ACIP vaccinations a month before the committee was scheduled to meet without knowing what they were or what evidence that was based on, correct?
Correct.
I find that troubling and ironic, given what Secretary Kennedy said in June when he fired all 17 members of the ASIP without cause and called them, quote, a little more than a rubber stamp. That's exactly what he wanted you to be for the new for his new board of unqualified vaccine skeptines. The former members of ASIP actually met in April. Dr. Menares and Dr. Hari, would you feel confident telling parents they could trust the recommendations of the advisory committee that were made back in April? Before they were fired.
Yeah, I would say that the individuals that were participating in April.
You are watching live right now the Senate help hearing, talking to former CDC executives. I want to get you updated now with the Amber Alert out of Randolph County. There's a picture of the young girl, releasing now a picture of Iris Everly Marie Fargus, a 1-year-old that is last seen wearing a Halloween shirt and some black colored tights, also Halloween themed, and that she is believed to be with Tyler Ray Tootle. So if you do have any information on this, you are, and there's a picture of Mr. Tootle there on your screen right now. So if you have any information on where you might see, or that if you've seen Iris Everly, you are asked to call the Randolph County Sheriff's Office immediately, or just call 911. So we will have this up for you. North Carolina Amber Alert for what authorities are saying is an endangered child, just over 1 year old. We are going to continue carrying this hearing on our secondary channel. This is the Senate help hearing, what they are calling restoring trust through radical transparency. We are coming up on 11 o'clock. So Charlotte Today is up next here on the main channel, but you can come back out of your WCNC app and go to a secondary channel. You'll see this image, this video live, and we will continue to carry this on our secondary channel. Thank you for joining us here. Nick Sturtevant back in the Live Impact studio at 12:30. Have a great morning.
I've had a very unusual tenure there, to say the least. You started out as acting director and had a good relationship with Secretary Kennedy, such that he recommended your appointment to the president. Then you were confirmed by a unanimous Republican vote, but opposed by every Democrat and every independent in the Senate. Then, less than a month on the job, you were abruptly fired. So I want to discuss with you further the grounds for your firing, even though I recognize the president has that authority. But as many of us have said, we just changed the law to make the CDC director appointed or confirmed by the Senate, and thus we have a duty here. First of all, Secretary Kennedy replaced every single member of the advisory committee. Did he consult with you about